The Blind Guy Cooking Show.
Welcome to the Blind Guy Cooking Show, or Blind Guy Cooking, your choice. Today, we're gonna make stuffed peppers. I take these, I will make a bunch, and I'll actually freeze them. Then I'll put them in my oven in the morning, which has a great insulation rate. Put them in there, put a little sauce. All day long they sit in there. It's a Wi-Fi oven. Before I come home, turn the oven on, and they're already cooking by the time we get home. You can use pretty much anything you want. I prefer using a mix 50% ground beef, 25% ground pork, and 25% ground sausage. The sausage for the flavor, and this is, unfortunately I couldn't get the mix, they didn't have both types, so I think this is just mild. But I'll typically mix mild and hot, the ground pork and the ground beef. I typically use 80-20, simply for the flavor. 80% meat, 20% fat. The fat just gives you a little bit of flavor. And for the rest of you that aren't gonna live forever, you may wanna do a little bit better. I'm gonna live forever, I'm doing great so far. So we've got the meats, we got mushrooms. I'm gonna use about half this container of mushrooms. You can get them any which way you want. We're gonna add in some tomato paste. In this case, I'm gonna add about half a can of tomato paste in here, and that's just to give the meat a little bit of flavor. I'm gonna add in some garlic. I've got minced garlic. You can do fresh garlic, you can do garlic powder. You don't have to do garlic at all. It's entirely up to you. You can put onions in there. Normally I would do onions. Today I'm gonna do some rice. And I am going to put 1 egg per pound of meat. Okay, so to make the peppers, the steps are, first you want to clean the peppers. Now I've cleaned all those except for 2. Get the pepper, get a small paring knife that's sharp. You want a paring knife, something that's small. This is about 2.5 inches long. The reason you don't want a big one is because you just want a cord. You want to go down into the pepper and you want to go around it and cut the ribs out of the pepper. You want to slice the ribs. So you stick it in there and you go roundy round, and this pepper's already broken, unfortunately, until you come all the way over to the back at the beginning. If you can get a stem on there, it's even better. You just twist and pull out the core like that. Then you take a spoon and just scrape out the inside cores, the little webs that are in there, and just scrape them out. And I'm using this bowl here for trash because I'm going to have eggshells and all sorts of trash that I'm going to put in there. Slice away from you, as most people will already know. And this is a tube of meat, which, there we go, we got it going now. Just kind of peel it open and get her in a bowl. All right, and that's hamburger. Sausage meat, we open up, and do the same thing. We just throw it all in there. Don't forget, and I did this once, oh, it tastes horrible. If you forget to get the little wrapper thing out, oh, it's awful. I mean, it wasn't my pepper, it was in somebody else's, but it was a little embarrassing for me, but oh, she did not like it. On the bright side, it wasn't my wife, so, you know. And now we put the pork in there. And it seems like a lot, and depending on the size of pepper is going to determine how much you're gonna use. Some of these are good size, some of these are smaller. You can figure a pepper is going to take anywhere between 1/2 and 3/4 pound. Now that seems a little odd or a lot, but if you look at a 1/4 pounder patty and a big size bell pepper, and I'm trying to find one, decent sized bell pepper, 1/4 pounder is only gonna fill it up to there. And if you get bigger peppers, you're gonna use quite a bit of meat in there. Get my towel here, wipe my hands off. I'm using just minced garlic. This way here, I like fresh garlic, but it is a lot of work. And this is very good. I just get the smaller jars, and I'll get a spoon and just throw some garlic in there. There we go. Here's the tomato paste. We're gonna put that in there. I can start putting the eggs in. I'm gonna guess about 8 eggs. How do you like that? One-handed, just like on TV. You can add breadcrumbs if you want. I will do that if I'm doing a meatloaf. The reason we're adding eggs is to bind the meat together. I'm gonna set that down there real quick, just a little bit, right there towards you. And get the mushrooms out. Like I say, we're gonna use about half of these. Get your knife and again, as blind folks know, you want to be very careful with a knife. I'm only using one hand and I'm just kind of chopping these up or putting my fingers on the back side, just chopping them up. I have to mince them, that's all. They don't have to be minced to a certain size. They just got to be chopped up a little bit. All right, so I'm still mincing. We're just about there. They're good right there. A few big ones, that's okay. People will eat it and they'll say, ooh, what's that wonderful flavor in there? And I'll say it's a mushroom and they'll say, ooh, but I don't like mushrooms. If you don't like them, why did you say it was so wonderful? It's a very funny thing. My good friends don't like mushrooms. My son does not like mushrooms. Many people don't like mushrooms, and I cook everything with mushrooms. I cook stuffed mushrooms with mushrooms. Of course, that's how you're supposed to do it. So there's that in there. And then the last thing we have is just some rice. I'm gonna throw the rice in there. The last spoon, we'll get the rice in there. I cleaned off some of the mess, got my meat here, and I got just a small array of seasonings. Again, the Italian sausage has a lot of the seasonings in there, so you don't have to do a whole lot. Just do what you want. What I've got here is salt and pepper, some cayenne pepper, and some Italian seasonings. Now, for those of you that don't know, because you can visually see things, I can tell this is salt and I can tell this is pepper. The way I can tell it is, one, I can sniff one and sneeze, which, okay. But my salt has a plastic top on it. It helps keep it drier. They both had plastic tops and we broke one. My Italian seasoning is in a little shaker that we've got for cheese or whatever. It's got holes here, it's got a big pouring spout, and we just refill it out of the big jug of Italian seasoning. You can grow your own seasonings, basil, oregano, parsley, make your own seasonings and just refill them. One caution, if you grow your own seasonings, they're typically a lot stronger. If you have homegrown basil, for example, and you go it will be way too much. That's store-bought. Homegrown, you go that's enough. There's that big of a difference between homegrown and store-bought. So I know this is that because of the shape of the container and the feel. Now this could be multiple different things. What I've got is from ID Mate. It's called the ID Mate, and this model is the Quest. They have the Galaxy, they have all these wonderful things. This is a wonderful thing. There's apps on the cell phones and all that. And it just...
Memo. System. ID mode.
And we go to ID mode, and...
Product Nathan's Cayenne Pepper 8, C.
And you heard a little ding. And if you press on...
Product Nathan's Cayenne Pepper 8, C.
Okay, and we're gonna go here just real quick just to show you an example. Let me go.
Memo. System. Help. ID mode.
And you just gotta scan.
Product Minute White Rice. Instant. Enriched. Long grain.
And you can go on.
Package size 42 ounce. 2 pounds 10 ounce. 1.2 kilograms. Product description: cooks in 5 minutes. Non-GMO. Instructions. Measure. Ingredients. The
phone has very similar apps. The one thing I like about this is it's got like 8 million codes in it, product codes, and it gives you a lot of the cooking instructions. The phones don't typically do that. They will tell you what it is, maybe the size and everything, but not necessarily how to use it to cook with. They're great in the store, but this is way better here in the kitchen. So I'm gonna take my salt, and you just learn after a certain point, that's enough salt. Salt is not good for you because it does cause high blood pressure. Pepper, same thing. We're gonna go pepper, 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 pepper. Oop. Italian seasoning, I know this has very little left. I'm just gonna unscrew the lid and pour that in there because that looked like enough actually. So we're gonna stop there. And the same thing with the cayenne pepper. We're just gonna pour it until it looks good. Remember the 3 important things when you're building something, whether it be stuffed peppers or a house. The first one is for your enemies, the second one is for your friends, and the third one is for yourself. All right, so we're back and we're all mixed. And if you're wondering how I can tell it's mixed, the consistency. Pork feels different than beef, feels different than sausage, feels different than rice, feels different than mushrooms. I know by the feel. I can tell there's stuff in here. I just can't tell by sight if it's all mixed up. but I can tell by the feel that it's mixed up, and that's what I'm doing. All you're gonna do now is get your peppers that are all clean and cored and everything else, and get some meat, okay? I don't know how much that is, and I don't know how big that is, but we're gonna put that in there. And just take it and you just squirt it in. You just keep shoving it in, shoving it in, shoving it in. And give yourself, look at that, it fit perfect. Got a little bit of a dome on there, which is what we want. Don't worry about the greases and oils and everything from the meat getting on the outside of the pepper. They'll drip off and everything else as it cooks. And again, now I got a little smaller one. You'll take a little less meat and just jam it on in there. Pack it full. Oh, one last thing also, just so you know, if it doesn't stand up straight and wants to tip over in the pan, cut it flat. You just cut one edge off, cut one of the knuckles off so they stand up flat. Pour some pasta sauce, some spaghetti sauce. Just pour it over there, give it a nice covering and everything. Cover it with foil, put it in the oven, 350 degrees, bake it. Going to go about an hour and a half, and then you're going to uncover it and let them kind of get a little crispy on top. Not, you don't want to burn them, but you want them to get a little hard shell. That foil on top is going to keep them moist. Taking that off, it's going to let them get a little bit of a shell, a little bit of a hard crunch. When that's all done, you'll have your rice also cooked at that point. Put yourself a little mound of rice on the plate, then plop your pepper right in the middle of it. It'll stand up nice and pretty. Take a splash of sauce, some more sauce, pour a little sauce on there to mix with the rice and everything, and then as you slice it open, everything get mixed up and just tastes delicious. A little bit of French bread with that, a garden salad, you're all set. You'll lay there rubbing your belly with a glass of Lambrusco going, what have I done to myself? Thank you, we'll see you later.